Hi, my name is William. I'm a blood cancer patient. This channel is all about my experience as one of the first people to be treated with a combination of two different drugs, Ibrutinib and Venetoclax, as a first-line treatment for CLL/SLL. Can I say right at the beginning, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. This channel is all about my experience as a patient. This channel is dedicated to my spouse, who's been hugely helpful during my journey with CLL, to my fellow CLL patients, to the families of those patients, to the doctors, the nurses, the hospital assistants, the clinical staff, the admin assistants at the various different hospitals who treat people with CLL, to the very brave patients with CLL who are involved in trials for new drugs for CLL, and to the medical professionals and students who are thinking about devoting their careers to finding a cure for CLL. CLL is a journey, not a destination. I express my sincere thanks and huge gratitude to John Gribben and to the team at the London Clinic, who were absolutely fantastic in helping me on this journey. Hi, and welcome to my experience with Venetoclax Part 2. In my previous video on Venetoclax, I explained what Venetoclax is. It's a targeted anti-cancer drug called, in the medical sense, a BCL2 inhibitor. In effect, it's chemotherapy in a pill. And in effect, you get 4 pills, 100 mils each day, which you take at the same time every day. And as I explained in the previous video, I took them at breakfast time to make sure I got them done and dusted at the beginning of the day. I also, in the previous video, covered the main side effect of Venetoclax, which is the known side effect, which is that Venetoclax gives you the potential to increase your uric acid in your blood. And my experience with that was the doctors recognized that I was prone to that particular challenge and gave me some allopurinol originally to go with the Venetoclax during the roll-up. This is all in the previous video, but I got a rash on that allopurinol and they switched it very successfully to another drug called febuxostat. So that covers the particular perspective, which is a known side effect of Venetoclax. Today, however, I want to focus on my experience in terms of the side effects with Venetoclax. It's a very powerful drug. It's hugely beneficial, but it is a powerful drug, and I think it's important to realize that going on to Venetoclax. And I was on Venetoclax for a 12-month period on a fixed term therapy, and it was extremely beneficial for me. The first thing I noticed about being on Venetoclax was the pains and aches that I would have as a regular club cyclist. So for example, in my knees or in my calves, maybe occasionally in my hamstring or my glutes, were certainly a lot more prevalent than they had been previously, even though I wasn't particularly exercising at the time. So this was something that happened very quickly as soon as I was on Venetoclax. Didn't get any worse, and was certainly extremely manageable. I didn't need any pain relief or anything like that. It was just being aware that it would happen in terms of that context. The second area is a little delicate. Diarrhea. Now, I was on Venetoclax for a 12-month period, and initially absolutely no stomach trouble at all. But after about 3 months, I did have the occasional episode of diarrhea, and when it came, it was quite marked. And initially, I didn't take any Imodium for that particular diarrhea. That was, as I found out subsequently, a mistake. And as time went on, when I did get the diarrhea, I did make sure to get Imodium quickly into my system. As it got closer towards the end of the 12-month period, so I would say really the last 2 months, the diarrhea did become a lot more prevalent, to the point where really at the very end of my time on Venetoclax, I was having diarrhea maybe 2 or 3 times a week. So Imodium these days comes in a really good little package where you have a pill that dissolves on your tongue. And what I found worked for me was, at the first instance of there being a problem, I took 2 of the Imodium, and once I'd done that, then I was fine to keep on going in terms of that sort of context. The other aspect about stomach trouble, which I had on Venetoclax, again came really about sort of 9 months in. So for the first 9 months, really not very much at all. But I did have some issues around the stomach lining. I've had, as a person, long before I had cancer, I had acid reflux, actually as a teenager, and I've lived with it for 40 years. And for acid reflux, I would take Gaviscon. As time got by on the Venetoclax, as we got sort of into months 9, 10, 11, and 12, it became necessary to have some stronger medication. The doctors were all over this, and they prescribed a fantastic drug, which is called Omeprazole, which you take at the same time as the Venetoclax in the morning, and that really made a huge difference in that sort of particular kind of context. So those were the 2 sort of main things around stomach, which became apparent. The other aspect is with Venetoclax, I did notice that there was a little bit of fatigue that also came to the fore. And I think I have a general point to make here, which is that on this kind of drug, you're never going to feel 100%. But I think you can feel top 90s if you focus on making sure that you have alleviated as many of the side effects as possible. And let's face it, 95% is better than the average person feels just about any day in that sort of context. So, amazing drug, very powerful. Also, I'd like to talk a little bit on this video about vaccines, because it is important, I feel, to make sure you're as well vaccinated as possible when your immune system is slightly compromised or slightly suppressed by the drugs. So I had quite a strong immune response to one of the vaccines, 2 or 3 days where I felt really unwell. But once it was done, and obviously I had the benefit of the COVID vaccine and the flu vaccines, etc., during the course of that sort of period. So to pull the piece around Venetoclax, to summarize, very strong drug, hugely beneficial. You can live a normal life with Venetoclax. Yes, you have to be a little bit careful on the stomach trouble, and that really becomes more prevalent as you get towards the end of the fixed term therapy. That's certainly what I found. But it is workable, and I'll repeat what I said earlier on, right? You can, in my opinion, and certainly from my experience, feel pretty good 95% of the time on Venetoclax. And that, my friends, is better than most of the general populace. And of course, it is a hugely beneficial drug. That's all I wanted to say about Venetoclax. If you like the style of this video, don't forget to subscribe. If you like what you've seen today, hit the bell icon. It does improve on the algorithms. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And remember, CLL is a journey, not a destination. I'd also like to express my sincere thanks and huge gratitude to John Gribben and to the team at the London Clinic, who were absolutely fantastic in helping me on this journey.